Hey, let's catch up with some Spurs news and notes and then play a game of buy and sell.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs and the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs beat writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Happy Wednesday, everybody. And weekend's right around the corner. Hang on in there. We'll get you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, we're making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free to bell where we get pretty much every podcast you can think of. Think of YouTube, we're there. iTunes there. Spotify there. Subscribe to us today if you haven't. And again, we always appreciate you doing so. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. What are we talking about today? You can see it on your screen. We're going to be going over some quick Spurs news and notes, and then bringing our guest, Mike Jimenez. Yes, he is back, everybody, part of the Alamocity Sports Podcast. And we're going to be playing a game of buy and sell, Spurs edition. From the draft to other topics, we're going to see what do we buy, what do we sell when it comes to your silver and black, and then talk about you guys, the Locked On Spurs fan comments y'all are leaving on the YouTube page. But first, some Spurs news and notes, and perhaps the biggest one that y'all heard yesterday. Wembanyama becomes the first NBA rookie to make the first team all-defensive team. Congratulations to him. He did something not even Tim Duncan did. Tim Duncan made the second all-defensive team in his rookie season. So kudos to him. Yeah, the accolades just keep on pouring in for Wemby. The Spurs have their star. They have their future. They have their cornerstone piece. Think about it. He ended his rookie season winning 3 NBA Rookie of the Month awards straight, got the Rookie of the Year award, selected to the all-rookie team, first team. You know, he shattered records throughout the season last year. And we're going to find out if he made any of the all-NBA teams, either first team, second team, or third team. It's going to be interesting. Does he fall on the first team? That's going to be a little tough. I could definitely see second team. Third team, I think, it'd be an honor. But, man, I got him as high as getting the second team. I mean, if he gets first team, that's just awesome. But I think second team, he should land in there. But it's going to be tough. A lot of great players in the NBA. We'll find out exactly where he lands soon enough. But, yeah, congratulations to Wemby. Accolades still pouring in for the Spurs phenom. Up next, there could be another one. We know about the all NBA teams. That's going to be coming up soon. But could he have a Olympic medal as well in his rookie season? Think about that. I mean, I know it's technically not in the NBA, but not bad to start his pro career. I mean, he could possibly have a gold medal, silver medal, or a bronze medal at the Summer Olympic Games. But we'll see what the Spurs do as far as building around him. The numbers are there. He led the league in blocks, 20-plus points per game, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all know the stats. So, good on Wemby there. So we'll see how he continues his NBA career. Just think about it. Just barely started. In other Spurs news, Trey Jones enjoyed a day of gaming with the San Antonio community at Game at the Rock event, sponsored by the Spurs, Alienware, and he got behind the controller. He and City Sissoko got behind the controller and tested their skills against some pro players, and looks like everything was off to a bang. There was basketball clinics, meet and greets, City and Trey signed autographs. So good day for the Spurs, getting mixed in with the community, even though it's the off season. Spurs go above and beyond when it comes to that as far as community outreach. And finally, this is gonna be a good one. As the draft is looming, so odds makers and their projections on who will go where, number 1, number 2, 3, 4. You get what I'm saying. So pretty much in Vegas, you can bet for anything. But one odds maker, Draft Kings, they put out their odds on where Bronny James could be selected, or at least which team would select him. Lakers are obviously the forefront because his dad there, LeBron, is with the Lakers. 76ers are right behind there. Oklahoma City is also the top 3. But do you believe it? Vegas has the Spurs with the 6th best odds at selecting Bronny. Now, the Spurs have number picks 4 and 8 and 35 and 48 in the second round. He's projected to go either second round late or not at all. So, interesting. Can you imagine the Spurs do that? I've been following this. I'm so intrigued by this because I want to see which team would be don't say dumb enough to select him, but waste a pick on him when scouts left and right are saying he's not ready whatsoever, that he's not an NBA pro player right now, that it would behoove him to go back to college and maybe test the waters after his senior year, all because his dad LeBron said that he would go wherever Bronny goes. That it's a dream of him to play side by side with his son in the NBA on the same team. Do you think the Spurs would do that? Do you think they'll burn one of their picks? I don't think they'll burn 4 or 8 on him, but 35 and 48 in the second round? He's projected to go late. Vegas knows all. They figured out the Spurs were going to win 22 games last year, and they nailed it. They projected that Rudy Gobert was going to win the Defensive Player of the Year with Wemby being the runner-up. They nailed it. So, yeah, interesting. But if you want to read more about that, it's at kens5.com/Spurs right now. Go check it out. All right, there's some quick Spurs news and notes. When we get back, we're bringing Mike Jimenez, part of the Alamocity Sports Podcast Network. We're going to be playing a game of buy or sell, Spurs edition, from the draft to the rebuild. We're going to be discussing a few topics and then talk about you guys. What are y'all talking about over the YouTube page, Locked On Spurs YouTube page? Y'all leaving a lot of comments where we picked 2. We'll see what y'all are talking about. That's next right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk about GameTime.co. Go there right now. GameTime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, lowest price guarantee. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Look, if there's an event you want to attend, get tickets through GameTime. Look, the app, they got so much things going on. They got, again, those last-minute ticket deals, views from your seat in the venue, the lowest price guarantee is mentioned, the event cancellation protection, job loss protection. What more do you want? This app has it all. They can even find MLB tickets for just basically any kind of event in your area. GameTime will have your back. Look, it's easy. You can download it easy, user-friendly, very easy to navigate. And I have it. You should get it too. Hey, look, some of the zone deals. So basically, the zone deal is that you can save even more money when you choose a section and you let GameTime choose the seats. What else they got? Well, the GameTime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, and flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or contest. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater with last-minute ticket deals. So, yeah, they got it all there. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. GameTime. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're now joined by Mike Jimenez. You know him, you love him. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. He is part of the Alamocity Sports Podcast Network. Check it out on YouTube. He'll brag about that. And look at him repping silver and black today on Locked On Spurs. You got the logo there. You got the black T-shirt there. What's it say on the sides? I can't read that.
Oh, it just says Nike. But by the way, this was the T-shirt I bought and wore the day that we won the draft lottery back in 2023 to get Wemby. So it's my lucky shirt.
Hey, well, the Spurs are going to need it because they have a couple of draft picks ahead of them. But we're getting to that. So what are we doing today with Jimenez? Well, we're going to be doing a game of buy or sell. So I'm going to throw 3 questions at him, and he's going to buy or sell it. And then later on the show, we're going to discuss you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans. You guys are leaving a lot of comments. We'll pick 2 and address them ASAP. But Mike, it's been a while since you've been on Locked On Spurs. How you been?
Dude, I'm doing amazing, man. Glad to be back.
Yeah, we missed you here. I know you're busy. I think you're traveling with your daughter, concerts. I know you're back at work almost like full time practically now, right?
Pretty much, man. Got to see the Killers and the Foo Fighters out in New Orleans. So
yeah,
spending time with my daughter out there, man. It's been a blast.
Look at that, being the good dad he is. All right, let's jump into put Mike on the hot seat. It's buy or sell time. I got him right here, everybody. So I'm going to look at my notes here. All right. Well, the first one is going to be speaking of the lottery and that lucky t-shirt you got there, buy or sell the Spurs will keep number 4 and number 8 and just draft straight out?
I 100% buy it.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that the Spurs aren't going to field offers or kick some tires, but man, I mean, there's got to be a 99.999% chance that we're going to go off and draft at number 4 and at number 8.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, I thought there was no way in the world the Spurs were going to have 3 first-rounders in the same class, right? But we got Sohan, Wesley, and Branham. And I was so surprised when that happened. So the Spurs having 2 picks in the first round, number 4 and number 8, I think we're going to keep them and hope that one of them pans out into being a star.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they will keep them. I think they're going to just select straight out. Lesson learned. Remember the year where they had 2 first rounders? They were late, but they ended up being Wesley. You mentioned Branham. So, and everybody's like, no way, the Spurs are going to draft that. You're out of your mind. And well, they did. Again, Brian Wright repeated after lottery night that, they're still going to take the slow, steady approach, that they're going to be cautiously aggressive. That doesn't bode well for this upcoming season, maybe not the offseason. Jimenez, and we'll get into the second buy or sell questions, but it kind of dovetails off the first one here is, do you think it'll be a mistake if they just simply draft straight out?
No, it's not a mistake. The Spurs need talent all over the place. We need a 1, we need a 3, maybe even a better 4. It's just we are starving for talent. And, the Spurs are hoping to find the diamond in the rough who can potentially become somebody. I know this is considered to be a very weak draft.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've had weak drafts in the past that had Giannis in them.
Mm-hmm.
We've had weak drafts in the past that had Jokic in it coming out of the second round. So just because it's a weak draft doesn't mean that there's not a superstar somewhere in there to be found.
Yeah, I mean, just history is told. Anthony Bennett goes number 1. Well, he was a bust, but lo and behold, Joker is a second-round pick. Oh, believe it or not, everybody, Giannis did not go number 1 in his draft. He went in the late teens or middle teens. Manu Ginobili, second round. I mean, it goes all right. You can look at mock drafts all you want, Jimenez, but ultimately it's not an exact science, and you can't really just look at those mock drafts as the Bible. Oh, mock draft A says Spurs are getting Collier. That's it. That's their guy. No. I mean, how shocked were you on draft night when they drafted Primo? Primo wasn't even projected.
I was beside myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, go ahead.
I lost my mind that day. I remember where I was. I remember what bar I was at. I remember looking up at the screen and going, my God, I spent months watching YouTube videos, watching European games, reading mock drafts, seeing Sengun right there for the taking. And then they got somebody from Alabama that I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at all the final mock drafts, and all the prognosticators had him going in the second round. Mm-hmm. But apparently the Spurs front office, Brian Wright, R.C. Buford, had the hots for him, and apparently so did Oklahoma City Thunder at 16 that particular season. So the Spurs took him. And at the time, I thought to myself, the argument that was made, that Brian Wright made was, we're taking him because we believe he'd be in the top 5 of the draft the following year had he stayed one more season. And that pacified me a little bit, right? But then we all find out what transpired thereafter, and it was a wasted pick.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was at Barclays the night of the Primo pick, and I was sitting in my media seat, and I got fortunate enough where I just had a seat by myself, and there was not too many people around me. I had my feet up on the seat next to me, and I remember just after they made an announcement, just being like this. Yeah, what now? I had no idea. I was just stunned. But yeah, that's just a lesson right there that, hey, Spurs fans, I mean, you don't know what the Spurs team is going to do. Sengun was there for the taking. Halliburton was there for the taking. The list goes on and on. But it goes for every NBA team. Every NBA team whiffs. I mean, Steph Curry, he went first top 5 picks or something like that, or first top 10, and he was the number 1 pick. So it's not an exact science, but ultimately I think I agree with you, Jimenez. I think they're going to keep their picks, but I wouldn't be surprised if they might pick for another team if there's a deal to be had. But that's for a discussion later on Locked On Spurs as the draft night approaches. Second buy or sell question is, and you kind of hit on it a little bit, what the Spurs need. The Spurs need a one. No knock on Trey Jones, but they need some reinforcements. They need starter quality. And according to the mocks, here we go, Nikola Topic is considered the best available point guard heading into this year's draft, the summer's draft. Buy or sell, the Spurs should take him if he's available at 4 or 8.
Well, first of all, it is a knock on Trey Jones. Okay, he's not the point guard for a playoff-bound team, at least not as a starter. Mm-hmm. Love him as a backup point guard. He's an ideal backup point guard, very cerebral, decent player, but he has a very low ceiling. The guy is not going to be a star. And what we're seeing in the playoffs right now is that star point guards matter. All this crap that we heard for so long, beginning of the season, is that you need to have positionless basketball, right? That was the term being used. But right now, what do we see out there? We see Halliburton still out there. We see Kyrie and Luka Doncic still out there. Point guards really matter. Jalen Brunson took the Knicks very far. Yeah. The point guard, the teams with point guards, Jamal Murray, the teams with point guards that are elite are going far into the playoffs. That's just the way that it is, man. This positionless basketball is a myth. So we do need help at that point guard position. And to answer your question about Nikola Topic, I would have been all on board up until about a week ago.
Yeah.
Hurt his knee again, the same knee. Now, apparently it wasn't as bad as the first time he hurt it. But, dude, we've had this experience with Kawhi Leonard in the past where a lingering injury. We've seen this with Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell seems to be missing 10 to 15 games per year because of nagging injuries.
Right.
And the best ability, is oftentimes said, is availability.
Right.
And I'm looking right now at Topic going, my God, if you are getting hurt all the time at age 18, there's something wrong. And the way that he hit the ground, and he was face down and looking at the floor, and he was in pain, and he hobbled off. I know that they said that it was minor, but if that's his reaction to quote unquote a minor injury, kind of scares me.
And it was a non-contact as well.
Exactly.
It was a non-contact. Yeah.
Exactly. Give me Stephon Castle, please. That's my guy, man. Stephon Castle's my guy. He and Dillingham are my two favorites in the draft. 4 and 8. If I get just one of them on the team, I don't care if they swing and miss down the road and get somebody that was like primo in the sense that was mocked down the road. Give me Castle. Give me Dillingham. Those two guys are ready to play.
Yeah. I cooled off on Topic as well. You know, on paper, it's everything the Spurs have been looking for. Big point guard. Remember, Josh Primo was a big point guard. They wanted him to be that. They wanted Jeremy Sohan to be a big point guard. That didn't work out. Topic fits exactly what they're looking for. 6'6". You know, he's a teenager. He'll fill out his frame, but, you know, floor guy, good vision, all that good stuff. But, man, injuries. I mean, the last thing they need is to have one of their picks, 4 or 8, to suffer an injury that keeps them out again, you know, kind of redshirted again, kind of like what Chet Holmgren went through in his official rookie season. And the Spurs don't need that. You know, they need to get the ground running. They need to get this rebuild going. They don't need a setback. And I think if they were to draft Topic and he gets injured again, it would be a setback in the rebuild moving forward. All right. So far, so good. We're here with Mike Jimenez. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. He is part of the Alamocity Sports Podcast Network. That is on YouTube. He's going to brag about that in a few minutes. But when we get back, we're not done with him regarding buy or sell. We got one more question on deck for him. And then we're going to talk about you guys, Locked On Spurs fans. What are y'all talking about over at the YouTube page? This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Look, we all need some help sometime, right? Whether it's some bad things you want to get off your chest or good things that you want to keep on doing. If you're interested in online therapy, you want to give BetterHelp a chance. Look, go there right now. They got it all. It's flexible scheduling. It's obviously private, confidential. And look, we all carry stressors in our life, big or small. And sometimes we keep them bottled up and it can start affecting you negatively. Therapy is a safe place to get things off your chest and figure out what you need to do to work through whatever's weighing you down or keep on doing the positive things that you're doing. Look, it's helpful for learning coping skills, how to set boundaries, what empowers you to be the best version of yourself. Look, Sometimes you probably experience some major trauma. I know I have. You probably did too. This is where BetterHelp can come in and help you. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You can match with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
This is Zach Aguilar, the voice of Tanjiro Kamado, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're back on Locked On Spurs, joined by Mike Jimenez, rocking the silver and black. Look at you. I never thought of you were that proud to be a Spurs fan. Are you? Are you that proud? You rock the jersey. You do it more so than I do. I just wear a hat, the Spurs hat. You come out in jerseys on your show, T-shirt here.
The number of Spurs fans on Twitter who claim that I'm a fake Spurs fan. I mean, they tell me that all the time. But man, I went to the Hemisphere Arena, man, back in the day with my dad. Been cheering for this team. I remember growing up with posters of Alvin Robertson and Artis Gilmore and Mike Mitchell and Gene Banks on my wall. I'm not only a Spurs fan, I'm a Spurs fan of 40 plus years.
Yeah.
And it's been a fun ride. The last 5 years have been kind of frustrating, and we're trying to get out of that, getting back into the playoffs. But man, watching the playoffs this year kind of shows how far we are from actually being a real playoff team.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of that Alvin Robertson poster, was it the one where he's wearing the old black ABA jersey and it says San Antonio and he's outstretched like this going for a dunk? Yeah, I had the exact same one. And it's a great poster. But yeah, we're not done with him as far as buy and sell. And we're talking about the rebuild. We're talking about Wemby and point guard stuff like that. We're talking about building a team. Buy or sell, and just kind of reflects what's going on in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. Buy or sell, the Spurs need to have at minimal 2 superstars on their roster. They got one, Wemby. They got to go get the other one. Do they need 2, or maybe they need more, as maybe a team that's in the postseason right now? You got Boston, with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. And I guess to read Derek White, I mean, he was a fringe all-star. What do you think about that? Buy or sell, the Spurs need at minimal 2, or do you think they need more than 2?
Well, you need 2 all-stars. You need a superstar and an all-star. So I'm not buying that you need to have 2 superstars, because sometimes that doesn't work. I mean, look at LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? That didn't really work out. And in fact, Kyrie and Luka Doncic didn't work out early on, but now it seems to be clicking, right? So you don't need 2 superstars, but you do need another all-star. And you need a fringe third guy to be that guy. You mentioned Derek White, for example.
Yeah.
So the Spurs, as we are constituted right now, don't have any future all-stars on this team other than Wemby. Okay, Vassell is not an all-star, though he's a very good player when healthy. Sohan is not going to be an all-star. Trey Jones, Keldon, all those guys. None of them are going to be all-stars, right? So either A, we're hoping to draft a future all-star, or B, we're eventually going to have to pull the trigger and actually make a trade for one. I know that there's been a lot of rumors about everyone from Trae Young to DeJounte Murray to other
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell is a good one. I mean, that might not be that bad of a deal. We've seen the point guard situation in Detroit with the Pistons and how they have way too many out there. So the Spurs eventually are going to have to pull the trigger on something. And the big question has become, do you do it now? Or do you do it later? Do you waste Wemby's second year? Because, come on, the Spurs wasted the first year of Wemby. They did. The second year, it looks like the Spurs more and more are going to stay put, man. And I know we're looking at Donovan Mitchell. I would love to have him here. I think he's probably the easiest get for the Spurs, because Trae Young is going to cost 4 or 5 first-rounders, right? You're going to have to give them back their picks, and you're going to have to give them a good player on top of that, if not 2, to match salaries and all that stuff. But, man, you take a look at Donovan Mitchell, because they already have a good point guard on roster right now to replace him, it's going to be easier for them to get rid of him.
Mhm.
And if it takes 3 first-rounders to get him, by all means, do it. 3
Sure.
first-rounders and a couple of players, then do it, because that's the cost it takes. That's the price that you have to pay to get an all-star. I
Yeah.
mean, look at what it took to get him in the first place.
Yeah.
What it took to get a Rudy Gobert. What it took to get a bunch of the Karl Anthony Towns, a bunch of these guys over the years. And so I think that Donovan Mitchell is the best get to have. The problem is you look at the 2024 free agency list. There's not much out there. It is barren, man, and it is there. Whoever's there that is a free agent is going to go back to their team on player options or restricted free agency.
Right.
I mean, you have a couple of big names like Pascal Siakam. There's some pretty good tier 2 and 3 guys out there that are good glue guys that might make that might become a good number 3 for the Spurs.
Yeah.
But just like the draft this year, the
Go
draft
ahead.
is weak.
Yeah.
The free agency class is weak. But 2025, not only is it a super strong draft and the Spurs have the potential of 4 first-rounders, but the Spurs also have the ability to go after some people who are stars, man, because some super studs are true unrestricted free agents come 2025. There's a ton of names out there.
Yep.
We're talking about 10, 12 all-stars that are available unrestricted in 2025. I hate to say it, but if I had to bet any money on it, if we're not getting Donovan Mitchell, because we're not going to get Trae Young, if we're not getting Donovan Mitchell, I think the Spurs are going to stay put, man, and not do much of anything and not make much noise in free agency. Run it back.
Yeah, on the flip though, you look at a team like Dallas, really just 2 stars, Kyrie and Luka, and that's it. And a bunch of good quality role players from Washington to Gafford to Klebo when he was not injured. The list goes on and on. So but then again, look at those 2. I mean, those are mega stars. Those are Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic.
Right.
Those are 2 heavy hitters there. I wouldn't. You look at Indiana. They really only have Halliburton. That's pretty much Miles Turner is there, yes, but it's just really Halliburton. So it really depends on the mix, and that's where the Spurs talk about fit. Fit with Wemby. Will they fit with this rebuild? The players on Indiana fit well with Halliburton. The players around Dallas and Luka and Kyrie, they fit with their style. Minnesota, young explosive team, Cat and Anthony Edwards and Gobert. But it is interesting. I think the Spurs they have a chance to get their second stud ASAP. But the thing is, Jimenez, will they do it though ASAP? Or they're going to stick with the whole we're not going to rush this? And I think that's what rubs some Spurs fans the wrong way is because they keep on saying we're not going to rush this. I just feel like these teams are going to lap them, Jimenez. The other teams are going to lap them. Houston is right on their heels. And I have a feeling Houston could lap them as soon as next season, Jimenez.
And Houston also picks before the Spurs this year in the draft. I have been very critical of Pop in the front office when it comes to what they're doing.
No way. Get out.
I thought it was a joke for the Spurs to go out there and do Point Sohan out there to essentially punt on Wemby's first year because they didn't have to. That's the thing. The whole thing about, the Spurs are the youngest team in the NBA and that's why they're not any good. Well, who made them the youngest team in the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
They did it to themselves. And then that logic also doesn't fly anymore because, Oklahoma City was just minutes away from making the Western Conference Finals. And guess what? They're the second youngest team in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting better. They're getting better because they have more draft capital, believe it or not, than the Spurs do.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spurs have a lot. So the Spurs, I think that it was arrogance beyond belief of Pop when it came to year 1 with Wemby, with Sohan out there and them just not calling plays for him. It was a joke. It really was. And the Spurs fans are going to go like, what do you mean, Jimenez? They look good in April. Dude, I don't care. It was a 22-60 season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for them to punt in year 2, which is what they're going to do, they're not going to sign anybody of significance. I have no faith that they are because unless they're going to pull a trade for a star, which is the only way they're going to do it, if it's going to be done by free agency, it's not going to happen, man. They don't have the cap space to sign somebody of significance in there. an all-star. They have people. They can sign a good player, but they don't have the cap space to sign an all-star. You want an all-star, you got to trade for one.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that the Spurs have too many players on the roster right now that are on guaranteed contracts. And if you look at it, very few names fall off next year. I think Trey Jones is one of 2 expiring deals this year. So it's not like the Spurs have, all this space that's going to suddenly free up next year. Man, I just don't like the way it's all designed. I really don't. Yeah. But the Spurs are in the middle of a rock and a hard place because you're in a weak draft and you're in a weak free agency class. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. And then the Spurs go 6 years in a row with a losing record. I want to see what those in Pop We Trust guys are going to say at that point.
And what makes it even frustrating is the Spurs fans know this team has the ability to speed this up. They're sitting on a treasure chest of assets. Yes, and including flipping players on the current roster. So they can make waves now. Now, could this just be smoke and mirrors? The Spurs being the Spurs, we're just going to take our time. And then, bam, they make a big deal. But historically, the Spurs never make big blockbuster stop the presses moves. They rarely do. The last time the Spurs were kind of like under the spotlight was with Wemby getting picked number 1 and maybe the Kawhi debacle. And that's it. It's been quiet. They just like staying on the radar. So we'll see what the Spurs do this offseason at the draft and so much more. Hey, we're talking with Mike Jimenez. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. Send him all your tweets or X posts, whatever you call them now, about his love for Sohan. He loves hearing about stuff like that. Hey, Jimenez.
I made my peace with it.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk about the Spurs fans now, or the Locked On Spurs fans. They've been leaving a lot of comments, Mike. There's so many to choose from. I wish I could read them all, but we just can't. So I'll pick 2, and we'll get Mike and myself's reaction here. First one is from Safe Space Invader. He says, "We are in desperate need of size on this team. I'd almost say we need taller wings before the point, just because there is not a must-have point in this year's draft." What do you think about that? According to Safe Space Invader, he thinks that more size is needed, that's the precedent over a point guard.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And if that's going to be the direction the Spurs go on, I can't fault it. I know one of the names out there that is projected to be a top 6 pick is that I might be mispronouncing the name, Matas Zubelis.
Yeah,
who's in the G League Ignite.
G League Ignite.
Going out there, 6'10", has hops. I mean, that's a wing. That's a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Stephon Castle at 6'6". If he comes in, Castle wants to be a point guard and there's reports out there saying that he doesn't want to work out for teams if he's not going to be a potential starting point guard. But some of these big guys out there, Donovan Clingan from Connecticut, he had a big tournament and he made a name for himself. Guys, 7'1", clogs up space. That they're going to be at least we know he'll be a pretty good defender. He likes to rim rocket a little bit. He's not Jakob Poeltl. He's not Zach Collins. When he sees the ball, he sees the rim, he's going to put the ball through the rim.
Yep.
And he's going to do it with force. So that's pretty interesting. There's a lot of players out there that have size. Zachary Risarche has some pretty decent size out there. Mm-hmm. We talked about Nikola Topic at 6'6", the Serbian, as a point guard. So there is the ability to show a little bit more height. That's my knock on Trey Jones. Trey Jones can't do anything about his height. No different than I can. I wish I was Trey Jones' height. But the fact of the matter is that in today's NBA, it's harder to be that, which is weird because I give a knock on Trey Jones, but I have a thing for Rob Dillingham, and Dillingham is the same size as Trey Jones.
The same thing for me. I look at
Reed Shepherd.
all these undersized guys. I'm like, okay, well, we kind of, at least height wise, got that guy on the roster right now, Trey Jones. But we appreciate that comment there, and let's go on to the next one here. Next one's from Victor Wembanyama. I wish it was him, but that's what the handle says. It says Victor Wembanyama, so
it's probably him.
I doubt it. I don't think it is. But if it is, thank you, Victor. But odds are it's not him. This is a good one, and I bring this comment up because I'm going to tell you something I wrote about on Ken's Five a couple days ago. He said Victor Wembanyama, that's what it says here, says Sissoko, now that's the other Spurs rookie, is our true lockdown defender. Can't wait to see more minutes from him. Sissoko, you got this. Stay strong. Now, what is your reaction to Jimenez? So this will be something good for you to maybe talk about on your show. So Sissoko recently opened up about his rookie season. And, when I first saw the outlet, it was a French outlet called Hoopmania or Hooplandia, something like that. And I was expecting him to just talk about, Pop and G League and stuff like that. And he talked about the G League. But interesting, though, he actually openly admitted that he screwed up bad because every time he had downtime, he didn't take advantage of that and go to the gym and work on his game. He said that he spent over 100 hours just playing video games. He also said that he regretted it. So he recognized it. He said, I regret this. That was one of my mistakes. He also said that when he got injured, he kind of got into a depression because he did not know what to do with idle time. He didn't know what to do. And that's where he said, maybe I should have gone to the gym more. He's a teenager. I get it. Pro at so young of an age and making good money. But man, when I read that Jimenez, I was a little stunned. First of all, I'm thankful that he was open and honest with it. It's good, but he can't do that moving forward. Jimenez, your thoughts?
Yeah, I know that's the big battle with Kyler Murray as a quarterback. The fact that they say when there's certain video games being released, bet against him because he's going to be playing it.
Yeah.
If he says 100 hours, it's really closer to 200.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hate to say it, but City Sissoko is somebody that I'm actually still optimistic. If I could buy stock in a player, I want to hold on to some City Sissoko stock. When he fell to the Spurs in the second round, I was hoping and praying that he'd be there, and I was like, oh my God, he's right there. He's French also, right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and grab that guy.
Rock and roll.
And the Spurs got him. And there's certain players out there who have certain capabilities that are going to make them NBA players for a long period of time. That's why I like Stephon Castle. It's because he's a lockdown defender, right? Worst case scenario, you might have a Bruce Bowen type of guy down the road, right? But Sissoko has that defensive tenacity. The question was, can he bring it offensively? And what we saw with the Austin Spurs, he can fill the lanes. I mean, he's ready to rock the rim and throw it down and all that stuff. And that's exciting. It's the development of the shot, right?
Mm.
But the development of the shot, as you said, starts by going to the gym and working on your shot. And if he's out here admitting the fact that, he spent so much time playing video games as opposed to working on his craft, we can attribute some of that to him being a teenager and him just simply, barely being an adult. I mean, I still consider him a kid, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
But it's his profession. And that's a failure of people who are around him because he doesn't, go through life by himself. I'm sure he has family, friends, translators, or whatever going with him, therapists or whatnot. It's a failure because other people had to have seen it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It
was also his acclamation to not just the NBA, but also just to, he pretty much said it, just to life in Austin and San Antonio. Because I think people forget this. He spent a year with the G League team in Las Vegas, the Ignite. And that's Vegas. That's Party City. That's a young kids kind of city. And that his transition to a calmer San Antonio and to a degree Austin, that was a little bit of a shock to the system as well. He said that Keldon and Jeremy Sohan really spent a lot of time with him, but he said he really hit it when he got injured and he couldn't get to the court. He got, and depressed. And he even said he didn't even he said he should have made more effort to contact his family, that he should have been a little bit more involved in the community, like community service events. But for him to say that, I should have hit the gym more, when I had idle time, fine, it was your rookie season, but don't do it again. I feel like, father, don't do it again. Next year you'll do it. But I got high hopes for Sissoko moving forward. And I think Spurs fans, they forget that he's on the roster, and he's athletic, explosive. Guy can jump. He needs to work on that shot, but he's raw talent. And I think I see why. And Spurs picked him and why you liked him when you saw him at the draft board. Hey, he is Michael Jimenez, part of the Alamocity Sports Podcast Network. Tell us about that. What's going on over there in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, we're doing it Monday through Friday. We're live on YouTube, sometimes on Twitter and Facebook from about 10:15 to 11:30. But we make sure that the show is evergreen for the entire day. So if you're listening at 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., midnight, that it's fresh for you and it's entertaining. We talk about sports. We talk a lot of pop culture issues, nostalgic stuff. It's a fun show, and Joe Garcia does a fantastic job producing the show. We're getting more and more one-on-one, in-depth interviews.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Last week we had wrestling superstar Goldberg, WWE Hall of Famer. Recently we had Frank Harris, the UTSA star quarterback for many, many, many years. We've had the Von Erich brothers, Ross and Marshall Von Erich. So more and more we're getting these one-on-one interviews. The show is progressing nicely, and it's a fun time, and it's a fun show. It's a fun show, and we're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers. Go to YouTube, Alamocity Sportscast. You can subscribe. We're just under 900. We're like at 892 last I saw. We're getting to 1,000. We're going to party once we get to 1,000. Rumor has it when we get to 1,000, it might involve Transformers 1986.
I thought it was going to be dunking you in a dunk contest thing, that water dunk thing.
Yeah, I've heard of that. If I could lend myself to something like that, I would. I don't know. Maybe I would.
Hey, you know what? People will line up. Because apparently you get noticed at HEB quite often.
Oh, you gave me so much crap when I mentioned that. It's true. It's true. And it's funny because I broke it down as to why. Okay, first of all, the radio personality. Here we go. Personality that gets recognized the most in San Antonio is still and forever will be Rudy J. Rudy J is the most he can't go to a gas station without getting recognized. I get recognized, pretty frequently. I'd say at least 5 times a week.
Do you sign autographs, Jimenez? Is that what you're trying to say? You sign autographs?
I do selfies.
What an honor.
I've even had people
what
say,
an honor.
I've even had people say, can I call my brother? He likes your old show, or he likes your podcast.
Jimenez,
will you say hi to my brother?
Here we go. Oh my goodness.
I got recognized in Austin.
You did not get recognized in Austin.
Now UTSA was playing UT, but I got recognized in Austin.
Is this part of your tall tales thing here? That you go through every week. Like, what's next? Like, oh yeah, me and the president. Yeah, we once hung out, smoked cigars, and played cards all night long on Air Force One. I'm waiting for that story.
How many people in San Antonio have hugged Paige Sporonic? I know I have.
Hope you washed that hand by now. Did they let you touch her, or no? You couldn't touch her.
I had my arm around her hip, or not her.
Yeah, some people are like all like germophobic. They're like, just.
No, she put her hand around. She put her hand around me. I put my hand around her. It was.
And now she's your best friend, right? She's your best friend. Now she's your best. You have her number, your cell phone, everything, right?
No, Annie Agars, I do.
Yeah. On that note, he is Mike Jimenez. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. Jimenez, thank you for stopping by once again. Keeping everything going here on Locked On Spurs and getting the fans involved. Even though it's the offseason, it's still a lot to talk about when it comes to your silver and black. Again, follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app. They're everywhere. Just pick one. You'll find Locked On Spurs and subscribe. And we'll be back tomorrow. More silver and black talk. Check out Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming channel only on YouTube. Brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. 24/7 sports talk on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today. Go subscribe to it right now. So for Mike Jimenez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.